In this video, um, of which is being recorded October 23rd, 2016, I will break down, or at least piece by piece, explain away why I believe you cannot make a person like you. Now, to give you the context of this, I'm stating that in the sorry to use context again. I'm stating this in regards to the dating world and the, I guess, friendship world, sort of, kind of. I don't have the, same type of issues that I have with the dating world. See, my whole thing is, and I'm gonna kind of have to still explain this because it won't make sense. I'm the kind of person who could only have one or two friends and be content with them. In fact, that's kind of my status right now. There are only about maybe 3 to 4 people I can honestly say, oh yeah, this is my friend. This is my my good companion, my buddy. Um, and one of those I knew since second grade. So he just grew on me and all that. Long time friendship type thing. The point I'm making is, I feel as if I have those in spades because a lot of people may not have any, and that's not because they're antisocial or they are bad to talk to. It's because they just aren't exposed to the same type of mediums, or it could be a variety of reasons. But the bottom line is that I don't feel friends is something I'm lacking in. And again, it's something I'm content with. I'm always open to talking to new people, but I'm really not in any big rush to expand upon the horizons of buddies. But I am a person who has had trouble with attracting the opposite sex. And, you know, I've always had the same pieces of advice given to me, which is lower your standards or change yourself. And, I attempt at times to fake confidence, go, oh, yeah, yeah, no problem. I'm that type of guy, that kind of thing going on. But it's always very difficult to pull off um, for longer than the first dialogue or the first few interactions. And that's mainly because I think after a while, like, I mean, I've known guys who they could talk to a woman 3 or 4 times and, oh yeah, let's go on a date. With women that I approach, I mean, I could have conversations with them every day for a month and it's still, oh, I see you as a okay person. They just have this tendency to be really, really slow in either figuring out, well, this is what I thought initially, in either figuring out that, I'm attracted to them romantically, or in just stating they're not interested. And one thing I learned quite some time ago is that if a woman does not have interest in you, at least um, from the start, they usually don't change their mind um, unless you just go and change who you are, or you have to jump through some. And I've even had some women admit they've made men jump through hoops. They'll have to. Guy I talked to said something about having to take another job and uh, being motivated by this to finish his schooling. And I just threw my hands in the air and said, that's what your motivation was. Not about wanting to better your life, about wanting to get a job, just to get a woman or a few women to like you. You went to college and admittedly, graduated. But why does that have to be the reason you graduated? And it's sad because um, people tend to look down upon women who are focused on relationships and men. The new feminist movement, basically, which encourages women to uh, seek careers for themselves, provide for themselves, the usual. And I think that's a good way to further their development as far as just, erasing this whole thing of you have to be dependent on a man. Um, I think independence is a good thing for them. The point I'm making is that this is not meant to be a disparaging of all women everywhere and say, oh, they're all horrible. No, because that's not true. I don't believe the majority of them are bad. And I'm not even trying to say that by rejecting me or any other man, you're an evil person. I'm not saying that in the slightest, but what I am getting at is there are a number of men who try way too hard and jump through these hoops for women that, you know, for all intents and purposes can still reject you. And that's kind of, I had the same thing for a while. I would try asking different men for advice, women for advice on, what appeals to them. And it was always an attempt to get with the same two or three women that I was interested in at the time, or, or just a group of them at once. And, you know, one day I just sat to myself and I kind of had this realization that it didn't work. You changed, several of your um, ways of approaching, so to speak, and you still couldn't get it. So what I ultimately decided to do was just say forget it, because it didn't seem to be worth it. Be asking around all these different people. I mean, if I tried to name all the people I asked, um, no, I'm not going to get into politics in this. I was about to make a analogy, but I'd have binders full of people I asked. I mean, just from both sexes. I had men, I'd ask them, what did you do? Because they were in relationships, so they must have done something right. Um, and I had some women that I would ask because, well, they're female too, so that might work. And you never get the result you're hoping for when you try these other methods a lot of times. And it's so, just agonizing to see couples walking down the street holding hands. And, you have these guys talking all sweet on social media and in person. I've been around couples that, where the male is talking all nice and, oh, I love you, and, oh, life didn't start without, all of this. And I keep thinking about the, claim of the bad boys get all the girls. And I know that's not true. I know that's not true because I've seen it in real life where the guy, is at least most of the ones that I interact with on a regular basis, they're nice. They are nice outside of relationships, because that's how I know them, not as in just platonically, of course. And they're nice in relationships from what I can tell and from what the female that they're with reports. She'll go, oh, he's so sweet and he's so great. And in reading that, I get kind of confused because I knew them before they got in those relationships. That woman did not change them. They did not go from the guy with the hard edges to the effeminate, all lovey-dovey dude out of nowhere. That didn't happen because of that woman. That did not happen. And again, don't get me wrong. I see several women that admit the whole, liking the bad boy thing and wanting somebody that's rough and all out there. But the bottom line is that they're not the sole women out there. And, I've been encouraged to act one way or the other way. And I ultimately chose to just be myself after a while. And I know what some will say, oh, you've been yourself and it didn't work before. That's the point. I don't think that anything I do at this point is going to create the difference that I'd hoped for years ago. I don't even think it was a week ago I approached this one female and, struck up a conversation with her. Now, this is completely different from a lot of times where I just go, oh, I like you. Can I get your number? I didn't even ask for her number. I just said I'd like to speak to you again. And she, took mine down. And in her taking mine down, I just couldn't help but think to myself, she is not going to call me. She is not going to call me. And, as I even, people say, oh, that's negative. That's being, uh, that's being negative. But sure enough, it's been almost a week, and still no call. Actually, I think that was either Monday or Wednesday. I'm not sure. Um, I'll have to check. Let me see. Because what I can do, since I record so frequently, is look at the attire I wore in a video and then know what day it was. Okay, that was October 19th. So that was 4 days ago. It does not take anybody 4 days to call someone of significance. And, to suggest that she lost the number when I saw her take it down, save it in her phone, load of garbage. Did not want me to mess with her anymore. Wanted a way out and took it down to get me away. That is actually a really good strategy. A very good strategy. I would love to do that if I got approached. Yeah, give me your number. Sure, I'll call you. Except with me, I don't. See, that's my thing. I don't. If I'm not interested, I'll tell you up front. I don't want it. But they will. In a way, it feels like a lead on because it's almost like, oh yeah, I'm giving them some hope. But at the same time, it's not. And see, this is a kind of hard video to do because I don't want there to be this notion that I'm blaming women for not being attracted to me or any other male. There's a lot of stuff not to like about me. I mean, that's not even disputable at this point. There's a whole mountain load of negatives I come with. And they might even outweigh the positives probably. But the point is, there is no justifiable reason to not just say, I'm not interested. If you'll notice, a lot of these, I don't know what you would call it, obsessors. I don't want to say stalkers because a lot of times they don't follow them. I mean, you got guys on social media who post nothing but pictures of Beyonce, for example, and that they're attracted to her. But the difference is that they won't go out and seek them. That's kind of how I am. I might look at some woman on some website and go, oh, she looks great, but I won't actually make the effort to go and approach her or try to reach her because I know what's going to end up happening. And when I get rejected a lot of times, I don't feel anger unless I feel as if I put effort into it. But even then, I still get over it. I got rejected several months ago by somebody that literally only spoke to me for 3 days after I kept on going up to their place of work or whatever and, in search for them. And it was kind of a thing of you're giving effort because you're continuously trying to see them. And within days, they said, don't, no more. This is over. And I was mad when that happened. But now I hardly ever think of them. And what I'm conveying is that the one good thing about so many of these happening is after a while, the women, the girls, the females, whatever you want to call them, they all start looking exactly the same. And they all start giving me the exact same feeling of, oh, that was fun, for an encounter. That was a little one-off, one-time type girl. The only ones that I still think of in significance are only significant because at the time I approached them, I was still in middle school, high school, when I was in a period of wanting to just focus on one. That was the one thing I like about me in my younger years over now, where if I said you were the one, I really was into it. I mean, I wouldn't look at anybody else. I would just think of that one person. And because of that, when they said, oh no, it really just disappointed me and brought me down because I thought that one person was it and all that. But I just said to myself one day, they didn't care one bit about me, about how I feel, about who I am as a person. Not even enough to, give it a shot and or strike up a conversation. It doesn't have to be a date. And I'm not I am not entitled to their attention. But they are also not entitled to being the person who gives me heartbreak. And so for that reason, I just said, forget it. And now, if I do approach, it's not just you, it's, 5, 6, 10 other people, which now I don't even care anymore, so I don't even do it hardly ever. But the point is, the one good thing about happening as often as it did is that now there's no more, oh, she said no. That's gone. That is over. Um, and if I do get upset or sad over relationships, it's not over that one person. It's over everybody. It's like, this happened again, this happened again, this happened again, this happened again. And there's too many of them to focus on one because they're all the same story. You talk to them for a little bit or you see them once, but they all end up the same way. Of nope, sorry. And, I've even had a few suggest that there's a chance it might happen. Don't even. That's another thing. I'm not gonna make a full on another 10 minutes about it. But that's one thing I really am not big on. If you know that you're not attracted to somebody, do not tell them your feelings will change because what that do. And I know this from being the person to have someone say that to me. That gives them hope. And when you give them hope, they will still, have the lingering feelings. I had a female that was in the same grade as me. It was, you know, several years ago, and she rejected me. And when she rejected me, she said outright, "I will never like you. I hate everything about you. You are an awful person." She didn't say those exact words, but the point is, she saw I was disgusting and I was just terrible. And, she would never conceive of a world where she would date me. And because of that, there was heartbreak, yeah, but it was kind of shifted down because after a while you say to yourself, well, if somebody hated you that much, why would you want to be with them? But also, it told me that there was no reason for me to be so upset or so distraught or so hopeful over one person ever again. See, one of them gave me hope, and it's been 2 years, and I've tried approaching them, and it's still the same thing. And, I stopped when I realized that it was pointless, that, the hope was a fallacy. But I'm not mad at them for what I perceive as their leading on. I just think they didn't properly end it. And because they didn't, I did. By never attempting to contact them ever again. But what I'm trying to get at with this last point is that and I'm addressing women more than men because they're the ones who mostly do this. When you don't like someone, say you don't like them and you will never like them. Just say that, because there's no reason for them to be clinging on to that little string that you'll like them. And men, there is not a single woman on this planet that you are romantically into that does not have either a look-alike, someone with the same qualities. These women are clones. They are clones. I'm not just talking about, how they look. I'm talking about just their personalities, a lot of them, where it's that same thing of, whatever, I'm aloof. Yeah, just so they have traits that are not singular to them, just as, you can find a million me's all over the place, be it in looks or be it in personality or interest. I'm everywhere. I'm like the plague, it's just spread around. So all in all, that's just my I don't even want to call it a rant, just rambling on and on and on about relationships. I think if a person tries to stay away from what I advised against, they'll do better. You can argue, oh, well, he didn't do that good. Well, that's the point. I'm saying this because I don't want that to happen to anyone else. I don't want someone to have hope for something that won't happen. And there's so much more to be upset about or excited about than some woman saying that she'll date you. That's all I'm getting at. Um, and there's really no reason to just assume that you're going to be alone by yourself for the rest of your life because you're not like everyone else. I mean, that's how I felt for a while, but you know, things might change. I hope they will. But if it doesn't, I'm not holding on to it. I have other things to preoccupy myself with, and maybe it doesn't. But is that really going to be what depresses me? Is that really going to be what weighs me down? What makes me feel a sense of failure in my life that I didn't get with girl A, B, C, X, or Y? It shouldn't. Thank you for watching and have a good day.